My friends, there are moments in life when the skies seem unbearably dark, the winds howl with relentless fury, and the ground beneath our feet feels unstable. In such times we may be tempted to despair, to question the purpose of the storm and the presence of God in its midst. Yet, I urge you to hold fast to a truth that has withstood the tempests of countless ages. This storm will pass, and God is with us still. Storms are not mere accidents of nature or random disruptions in our journey. They are often the crucibles in which our faith, courage, and character are tested and refined. Consider the oak tree, standing steadfast in a gale. It is not the calm, sunlit days that make it strong, but the battering of the winds, the resistance of its roots against the soil, and its determination to stand firm. So too are we shaped by the trials we face. Life is often compared to a journey, filled with moments of calm and chaos, sunshine and storms. The storms, those seasons of hardship and trial, are not meaningless disruptions, but opportunities for growth and transformation. They test our resolve, refine our character, and ultimately strengthen us in ways that periods of ease cannot. This makes decision-making and intelligence strengthen us in ways that periods of ease cannot. Consider the metaphor of an oak tree standing tall against a relentless gale. Its strength is not born of tranquil days, but forged in the resistance against powerful winds. The roots dig deeper into the soil, anchoring the tree firmly, not in spite of the storm, but because of it. In the same way, when life presents us with challenges, our resilience is tested. Each moment of adversity demands that we dig deeper into our inner reserves of strength, courage, and faith. These trials push us beyond the limits of our comfort zones, forcing growth where stagnation might otherwise have taken root. Storms are not mere random acts of hardship, but are often the crucibles in which our faith is tested and our trust in God is deepened. It is easy to believe in the goodness of life when the skies are clear and everything seems to align with our desires. However, it is in the turbulent moments, when the winds howl and the rain beats down, that our convictions are truly tested. Do we cling to hope, or do we succumb to despair? Do we trust in God's plan, or do we allow doubt to erode our faith? Through the trials, we learn lessons that could never be taught in times of peace. Patience, for example, is not developed in moments of instant gratification, but in waiting through seasons of uncertainty. Perseverance is not cultivated in ease, but in enduring difficulties that seem insurmountable. Empathy, too, is often born from our own struggles. Having weathered storms ourselves, we become more compassionate toward others navigating their own. Moreover, storms reveal truths about ourselves that might otherwise remain hidden. They strip away the illusions of self-sufficiency and remind us of our dependence on God and the support of others. In facing challenges, we discover strengths we did not know we possessed and weaknesses we might have been unaware of. This self-awareness becomes the foundation for personal and spiritual growth. When we emerge from a storm, we are not the same as we were before it began. The trials we endure shape us, just as fire refines gold. They prepare us for future challenges, equipping us with the tools and wisdom needed to face them. And while the storm itself may seem overwhelming, its purpose often becomes clear in hindsight. The growth it brings, the lessons it teaches, and the faith it strengthens are invaluable. The storms of life, then, are not to be feared or resented, but embraced as part of our journey. They are the trials that test and strengthen us, ensuring that we do not merely survive, but thrive, becoming the individuals we were meant to be. In the midst of life's storms, when the winds howl and the waves threaten to overwhelm, it is natural to feel abandoned or lost. Yet it is precisely in these moments of chaos and uncertainty that God's presence becomes most profound. The storm, though fierce, is not a sign of God's absence, but often a canvas upon which his love and faithfulness are displayed in ways that might otherwise go unnoticed. When the storm rages, we might ask, where is God? The answer, though not always immediately apparent, is found in the quiet assurance that he is near, walking with us through the darkest valleys. Consider the biblical account of the disciples caught in a violent storm on the Sea of Galilee. As their boat was tossed by the waves, they feared for their lives. But in the midst of their fear, Jesus appeared, walking on the very waters that threatened to consume them. His words, "Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid," echo across the ages as a reminder that God does not abandon us to the storm, but meets us within it. God's presence in the storm does not always mean the immediate calming of the waves. Instead, it often means a strengthening of our spirit and a deepening of our trust. He does not promise a life free of storms, but assures us that we will never face them alone. His presence is the steady anchor that holds us firm, even when everything around us feels unsteady. Footnote 2. The prayer for a safe seat in the boat. Calm. He is as strong as three people presence. The storm also serves as a place of revelation. In the stillness that often follows a tempest, we can see more clearly how God has been working in and through our circumstances. The moments of fear and doubt are transformed into testimonies of His faithfulness. What we once saw as insurmountable obstacles become the very means by which He shapes our faith and draws us closer to Him. Furthermore, God's presence in the storm is often felt through the people and resources He places in our path. A comforting word from a friend, an unexpected solution to a pressing problem, or the quiet peace that surpasses understanding. All these are reminders of His care and involvement in our lives. The storm may seem overwhelming, but we are never left without His guidance and provision. Later in this guidance, we will have expectations from Him as He creates and cares for our minds. There is also a profound intimacy that comes from encountering God in the midst of our struggles. It is in the storm that we are most vulnerable, our illusions of control stripped away. In this raw, honest state, we are better able to hear His voice, feel His comfort, and recognize His presence. The storm becomes a sacred space where our relationship with Him deepens and our faith grows stronger. As the storm passes and the skies clear, we often look back and see how God carried us through, His presence constant even when we doubted. The storm, once feared, becomes a testament to His unwavering love, reminding us that no matter how fierce the winds, He is always with us, guiding us to safety. Faith, by its very nature, often shines brightest in the presence of fear. It is easy to trust in the unseen when life is calm, the path clear, and the future promising. Yet, true faith is revealed and refined in moments when fear looms large, casting its shadow over our hearts and minds. It is in these moments of uncertainty and vulnerability that faith becomes not just a belief, but a deliberate choice. A choice to trust in God's promises, even when fear tempts us to turn away. Fear is a natural response to the unknown, to challenges that seem beyond our strength or control. It whispers doubts into our minds, telling us that the obstacles are too great, the risks too high, and the outcomes too uncertain. But faith is not the absence of fear. Rather, it is the refusal to let fear dictate our actions or erode our trust in God. Faith acknowledges the presence of fear, but chooses to move forward anyway, anchored in the belief that God is greater than any storm we face. One of the most powerful examples of faith amid fear comes from the story of Peter walking on water. When Jesus called him to step out of the boat, Peter began his journey with faith, focusing on the Lord. But as the winds grew stronger and the waves rose higher, fear crept in, and Peter began to sink. In his moment of panic, he cried out to Jesus, who immediately reached out to save him. This story illustrates a profound truth. Fear may cause us to falter, but faith keeps us connected to God's saving hand. Even when fear shakes us, God remains steadfast, ready to lift us up when we call on Him. Faith amid fear requires a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on the magnitude of our problems, we are called to focus on the greatness of God. Fear magnifies the challenges before us, but faith reminds us of His power, His promises, and His presence. It reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, and that the God who created the heavens and the earth walks with us through every trial. Moreover, faith amid fear is not passive. It is an active trust that compels us to take steps forward, even when we cannot see the entire path. It involves praying when our words feel hollow, reaching out for help when we feel isolated, and holding on to hope when despair seems to overshadow us. It is the quiet strength that allows us to face each day with courage, trusting that God's plan is unfolding, even in the midst of uncertainty. Fear may never fully disappear, but with faith it loses its power to paralyze us. Instead, it becomes a backdrop against which God's strength and faithfulness are displayed. Each time we choose faith over fear, we grow stronger, more resilient, and more attuned to the ways in which God works in our lives. Faith amid fear is not just a response, it is a declaration that we trust in a God who is greater than anything we face. An extraordinary thing is a declaration that we trust in a God who is greater than anything we face. Faith is often perceived as a quiet belief, an inner conviction that sustains us through life's challenges. But true faith is not passive or dormant. It is vibrant and active, expressed through choices, actions, and perseverance. Active faith is the demonstration of trust in God, not merely through words or thoughts, but through tangible steps that reflect His guidance and promises, even when the way forward seems uncertain or difficult. To have active faith is to believe in God's plan so deeply that it transforms how we live and respond to challenges. It is not enough to say we trust God. We must act in ways that align with that trust. Imagine a farmer who prays for rain but does not plant seeds. Without action, faith becomes an empty gesture. Similarly, when we face trials, active faith requires us to move forward, taking steps towards solutions and growth, even as we entrust the outcome to God. Active faith often begins with small, deliberate actions. It may involve stepping out of our comfort zones, embracing opportunities that seem daunting, or persevering through circumstances that test our resolve. For example, Abraham's willingness to leave his homeland without knowing where God would lead him is a profound example of faith in action. He did not wait for full clarity or guaranteed outcomes. He trusted in God's promise and took the first step. In moments of uncertainty, active faith calls us to act, even when the results are unseen. Consider the biblical story of the Israelites standing before the Jordan River. It was only when the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant stepped into the waters that the river parted, allowing the people to cross. Their faith was made visible through their action, demonstrating trust in God's power to make a way. Active faith also manifests in our daily lives, in how we treat others and live out God's commandments. It calls us to love our neighbors, forgive those who wrong us, and serve those in need, even when it feels inconvenient or challenging. Such actions reflect a deep trust in God's wisdom and a commitment to living out His will. Faith, when paired with deeds, becomes a living testimony of God's presence and work in our lives. Moreover, active faith is not without struggle. It often requires patience, resilience, and the courage to persevere despite setbacks. It may mean continuing to pray when answers seem delayed, holding on to hope when circumstances appear bleak, or trusting God's timing when it does not align with our own. Each act of faith, no matter how small, strengthens our connection to God and builds a foundation for greater trust in the future. Faith, in its most profound form, is a partnership with God. While we rely on Him for strength, wisdom, and outcomes, He calls us to participate actively in His plans. Active faith bridges the gap between belief and action, transforming abstract trust into a life lived boldly for His glory. It is in this dynamic interplay between faith and deeds that we truly experience the depth and power of our relationship with God. Storms, both literal and metaphorical, have a defining characteristic. They do not last forever. While their intensity may feel overwhelming and their duration endless, every storm eventually passes, giving way to calm skies and renewed clarity. Understanding the temporary nature of storms provides hope, resilience, and a broader perspective on the challenges we face. In the midst of a storm, it is easy to feel as though it will never end. The darkness, turbulence, and uncertainty seem to stretch endlessly before us, obscuring any sense of relief. Yet, just as every night gives way to dawn, every storm has a conclusion. This certainty is a cornerstone of hope, reminding us that no matter how difficult the trial, it is but a season in the grand journey of life. Nature offers countless reminders of this truth. Thunderstorms, though fierce, are fleeting. After the rain ceases and the clouds disperse, the earth often feels renewed, its colors more vibrant, and its air refreshed. In the same way, the storms of life, while disruptive, often leave behind growth, wisdom, and clarity. They strip away the superficial, forcing us to focus on what truly matters. The temporary nature of storms also teaches us resilience. Knowing that a challenge has an endpoint allows us to endure with greater strength and patience. It encourages us to persevere, even when the path seems unclear, trusting that the struggle will not last forever. This perspective enables us to face adversity with a steady heart, grounded in the knowledge that brighter days lie ahead. Moreover, storms serve a purpose. They are not arbitrary events, but opportunities for transformation. In the midst of trials, we may not see the bigger picture, but hindsight often reveals the ways in which storms have shaped us for the better. They refine our character, deepen our faith, and equip us for future challenges. Recognizing this purpose can make the storms easier to bear, as we trust that they are not without meaning. And, just as there are high points in games of contraction, training the mind to defend ourselves, they frame the struggles in life that matter most. Faith plays a crucial role in navigating the temporary nature of storms. Trusting in God's timing and sovereignty allows us to face trials with hope rather than despair. The Bible reminds us repeatedly of the transient nature of suffering. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. This promise assures us that no storm is eternal, and God's plans for us are ultimately for good. As the storm passes, we often find ourselves changed. The fear and uncertainty we felt give way to gratitude for the strength we discovered within ourselves and the faithfulness of God in carrying us through. The scars left by the storm become testimonies of resilience, reminders of the growth and lessons gained. While storms may be inevitable, their temporary nature assures us that they do not define our lives. They are but a chapter in our story, one that leads to greater understanding, deeper faith, and a renewed appreciation for the calm that follows. With this perspective, we can face life's storms with courage, knowing they too shall pass. In the turbulence of life, when challenges shake the very foundation of our existence, God stands as the steady anchor. An anchor provides stability to a ship amidst raging seas, preventing it from drifting into danger. Similarly, God anchors us in times of chaos, fear, and uncertainty, holding us firm when everything around us feels unsteady. His unwavering presence and promises are what keep us grounded, no matter how fierce the storm may be. Life's storms are unpredictable. They come without warning, catching us off guard and testing the limits of our strength. In such moments, we may feel as though we are adrift, at the mercy of forces beyond our control. It is here that God's role as our anchor becomes most evident. He is not merely a passive observer, but an active source of strength, stability, and hope. When we tether ourselves to Him, we find the assurance that, despite the storm's intensity, we will not be swept away. God's faithfulness is the foundation of this stability. He does not change with the seasons of our lives or the shifting tides of our circumstances. His promises remain constant, providing a firm foundation upon which we can build our trust. When He says, "I will never leave you nor forsake you," Hebrews chapter 13 verse 5, it is not a conditional assurance, but an eternal truth. This constancy allows us to face life's challenges with confidence, knowing that we are not alone and that His strength is greater than our struggles. Returning to the Word of God, being anchored in God does not mean that the storm ceases immediately. The winds may still howl and the waves may still crash, but there is a profound difference in how we endure them. Anchored in His presence, we are not paralyzed by fear or overwhelmed by despair. Instead, we find peace that surpasses understanding. A peace that comes from knowing that our anchor is secure, unshaken by the storm's fury. This anchoring is not passive. It requires an intentional act of faith. It means placing our trust in God's sovereignty, even when we cannot see the full picture. It means choosing to pray when words feel heavy, to hope when circumstances seem bleak, and to cling to His promises when doubts arise. Each of these acts strengthens our connection to the anchor, reminding us of His unchanging love and power. God, as our anchor, also teaches us to depend on Him fully. Storms reveal the limitations of our own strength and the futility of relying solely on ourselves. They strip away the illusion of control, drawing us closer to the One who holds all things in His hands. In this dependence, we discover freedom, a freedom that comes from releasing our burdens to Him and trusting in His perfect will. When the storm passes and the seas grow calm, we often look back and see how God carried us through. His role as the steady anchor becomes even more evident in hindsight, and we emerge not only with a deeper faith, but with the assurance that whatever storms may come, He will hold us firm once again. Trials are an inevitable part of life, but they are not purposeless. They are often the very moments that shape us, refine us, and transform us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate individuals. Just as fire purifies gold, trials serve to burn away our impurities, reveal hidden strengths, and bring us closer to fulfilling our true potential. Transformation through trials is not easy, but it is essential for growth. When we face trials, it is natural to focus on the pain, the uncertainty, or the fear they bring. These feelings are valid, but they are not the full story. Trials often act as mirrors, reflecting back parts of ourselves we may not have recognized. They expose weaknesses, such as a lack of patience or an over-reliance on our own understanding, and challenge us to grow. At the same time, they highlight strengths we did not know we possessed: resilience, courage, and the ability to endure. One of the most profound aspects of trials is their ability to deepen our faith and trust in God. When life is smooth, it is easy to become self-reliant or take our blessings for granted. Trials disrupt this comfort, pushing us to lean on God in ways we might not otherwise. In our moments of vulnerability and need, we learn to trust His promises and recognize His presence, even when answers are not immediate. This reliance strengthens our relationship with Him and reminds us of our dependence on His grace. Trials also teach us lessons that cannot be learned in times of ease. Patience, for example, is developed when we are forced to wait for resolution. Perseverance is cultivated when we endure long seasons of difficulty without giving up. Empathy grows as we experience pain, making us more understanding and compassionate toward others who face similar struggles. These qualities, forged in the fire of trials, become integral parts of who we are and how we interact with the world. Moreover, trials often serve as turning points, redirecting our paths and aligning us with God's purpose for our lives. A setback or failure may close one door but open another, leading us to opportunities we might never have pursued otherwise. What feels like a detour can become the very road to greater fulfillment and purpose. It is important to remember that transformation through trials is a process, not an instant event. Growth takes time, and the results may not be immediately visible. Yet, as we continue to persevere, we often look back and see how far we have come. The very trials we once dreaded become testimonies of strength and faith, reminders of how God carried us through and shaped us along the way. How many times should we try this, woman? While trials are difficult, they hold the potential for profound transformation. They refine our character, deepen our faith, and prepare us for greater challenges and blessings. In enduring them, we become more aligned with God's will, more resilient in the face of adversity, and more equipped to live a life of purpose and grace. Hope in the dawn is a powerful reminder that no matter how dark the night may seem, morning always follows. The night can feel endless, and the weight of our struggles can make it appear as though we are lost in the shadows. Yet, as certain as the rising sun, hope assures us that light will come. Dawn symbolizes new beginnings, a fresh start, and the restoration of peace after the turmoil of night. It is this hope, the quiet certainty that no season lasts forever, that enables us to endure even the darkest moments of our lives. The night, with its deep silence and isolation, often brings with it a sense of hopelessness. We are tempted to believe that the darkness is permanent, that the challenges we face will never end. But hope in the dawn invites us to look beyond the present moment and trust in a future that is brighter and filled with possibility. The night may feel long, but it is always followed by the promise of a new day. Consider the literal dawn. Just as the night is darkest before the first light appears, the most difficult moments in life often precede a breakthrough. These moments of despair and confusion can be incredibly challenging, but they are also the moments when our faith is tested and strengthened. Like the earth, patiently waiting for the sun's first rays, we too must wait with faith that morning will come. The dawn does not come on our own timetable, but it is always assured in the natural order of things. Similarly, in our lives, hope teaches us to trust in God's perfect timing, even when we cannot see the way forward. The stories of the dignitaries of Alaska grew into this logic and helped the Indians through their dark time. Hope in the dawn is also a call to endurance. It asks us to hold on, to keep moving forward even when the way seems unclear. Each step we take in the dark, each act of faith we make when the world around us feels uncertain, brings us closer to the light. It may feel as if progress is slow or that our efforts are invisible, but every moment of persistence is a step toward the coming dawn. And just as the dawn breaks gradually, so too does our healing and growth. Slowly, steadily, and inevitably. This hope is rooted in trust. Trust that no matter how fierce the storm, no matter how long the night, there is always a new day on the horizon. In times of hardship, it can be easy to focus on the current pain or the overwhelming nature of our struggles. But hope in the dawn shifts our perspective, reminding us that what we are facing is temporary. The storms, the heartaches, the challenges, they will pass, and a new day will come. The dawning of a new day represents the fulfillment of God's promises. Just as He has promised that joy comes in the morning, He also assures us that we will be restored. The hope we find in the dawn is the hope of renewal, restoration, and new opportunities. It is the hope that no matter how deep the darkness, God's light will always break through, bringing with it the promise of a fresh start, healing, and peace. In the end, hope in the dawn is not merely about waiting for the sun to rise, but about knowing that no matter how dark the night, the light will come. This hope sustains us, strengthens us, and reminds us that every night, no matter how long or difficult, eventually gives way to the dawn.